In this tutorial, we will explore how to implement JWT authentication in .NET Core Web API project. So let's begin with it. It will be .NET 7 and we want controller HTTPS. So we got our basic template. So what are all we required is we don't require this class. So now what are the libraries which we are going to require is package. First will be JWT bearer. Then we are also going to store data, user data. For this project, we are going to use in-memory database. Core tools. This is used for migrating. And design also we will add it. We are done with all the dependency installation. Let's start with creating our entity first. Yes, so this is how our user will look. So user will have user ID, username, email and password. So we will use email and password to log in the user. All also we can add some more properties. Then we have to add data context, which will communicate with our database. And it has to inherit it from DB context, which is from entity framework code. Okay, so this will represent as a table. The name of the table will be user, which will store all the data related to this entity, user entity in it. So that's why we kept it as users. So it will have multiple users data. It represent the entity in database. We have, we have to add this. Here we have to pass database name. So we will keep for now this. We can keep it here. Key will be connection string. Then we have to go inside of this connection string, which will be DB name. This is showing us error in case it is null. So you by default as in case if it's null, then it will pass this name. So we are done with our entity, it's user data. So in our last section we have created entity user. So now we will we will enable JWT authentication for this project. So this piece of code, what it does is this will enable the authentication for each request on this application, and this part of code, it will validate the JWT token with respect to all these properties, like validate issuer, then validate audience. Issuer means the server where our this server will be deployed, backend code will be deployed. Audience will be UI code which will consume that JWT token. Then also expire time, whether token is expired or not, that validation it will do, and also it will do sign in key validation here. Then we have to enable authentication, use once this is done, we have to add one more field. So as we are just for now building our APS, we will keep both audience and issuer the same. Then we have to add this properties in our app.setting JWT, and it will has key, issuer and audience. The key can be anything, so I will keep this is key 123. Issuer will be so now we have added our we have enabled our JWT token and also authorization and authentication for this project. Now we have to add helper class which will help us generating JWT token. I will add which will take user. Return type will be string. And then we have to implement this method here. This. So this will do our dependency injection. So whenever any class required this JWT helper interface, it will put the instance of JWT helper class. So what we have to do first, we have to first generate security key. Here we have to pass encoded secret key system.x. Okay, utf-8 that byte, and then yes. So in case in our app.setting file key is not set or it is null, so it will throw error. Then this, using this security key, we have to generate credential. And here we have to pass security key and algorithm, which algorithm we have to use. First we have to pass issuer, then we have to pass audience, which will be same in our case. Then we have to pass claims, for now keep it null. Then we will set expiry time for this token 20 minutes from what it is generated. And last we have to pass signing credential, which is so I have changed the key here. So as we are using this algorithm 512, it will need a key of 32, and then we have to add claims. I have pasted it here with ID, then user.user ID will be this, then we have to add email, user.email, and date will be date time. Claims we have to add it. So our method is done. which will give us JWT token based on the user. Now we have to write controller for signing and registration of user. We will create one controller, API controller, empty. Before that, we have to create a DTO and repository which will connect with our database and get us user data. Let's create. It will have one method task user get user by email. Then we have to implement this user repository. We will need all context Okay, so this method will give us user by matching email. If it finds any user where email is which we are passing, so it will write us that user. Otherwise, it will write us default, which will be null. Same thing, we have to register this iUser repository. For DTO, we are going to create a login request DTO and register the user DTO. Also, let us add a response DTO which will be written by all the APIs to have consistent response structure. By default, this value will be null. So we can give so we can either pass data in this or we can or it will be null by default. We also have to create register user. In response, we are going to pass token, access token, and plus. For now, we will pass only access token. So, what are things we are required for registering user? That will be username, email, password. So we are done with our DTOs. Now we have to write our APIs. It will be post. It will take from body. We have to inject our repository, user repository. If user is null, that means email is not correct. So then we have to verify the password. For that, we have installed one library which was this bcrypt. Okay, so we have installed wrong dependency, so we have to remove this one. Then again we can add We have to go manage NuGet package, then bcrypt.next.net docspace. So it will have one method which will first will be hash password. So here we have to pass our normal decrypted password, and it will encrypt it, and that's what we have to store in our database. And for validation verification, here we have verify method where we have to pass our user's password, then what the password which is coming from request. If password is correct, then we have to proceed with. If password is incorrect, then also we have to throw invalid credential. Now email is also correct, password verified, that means user is valid user. Now we have to generate a token. Now we will need helper class here. It will always return response DTO, and then we have to pass if everything is correct, then response dot data will be our user detail, and then this response we have to return. So in our last section we have done with our login API. So now we are going to create a register user API. So first of all, what we will do, we will remove this auth from here, API dot hard coded, then here also route. This method, what we have to do first, we will get our register user request, which will have email, username, and password. First we have to check if user with that username already exists. With that email already exists, user is not equal to null, we have to throw error that user already exists. Now there is so now if there is no user exist with this email, then we have to save this user. So first of all we need to create a new user. Here username will be from request username. Email will be request email. Then I think address is there. And password. Now password we have to store encrypted, not a direct password. So user here will give us a password like 123 abcd something, but we don't have to keep those password directly in our database. So for that we have this is done. Now again we in repository we have to add one more method. Add async user, it will add user to our context, and then we have to call one method save changes. Save changes async. We can do greater than 0, that means it has saved, so we can write otherwise false. We have to add this new user, then okay. So we are done with our register user method and login method. So we can now test it. Before that, we have to first build our solution. Okay, it built successfully. Then we can start our server. So in property launch setting, you can, here there are profiles, so which you can change it. HTTPS this one, HTTP is this one, and then you can change the port of the server. So this will run the HTTPS server on 707 and HTTPS instance on 5000. Okay, so it times to run our code. So what it is saying is we do not have constructor. Okay, we have to add constructor for this. I have added a constructor. It is just taking parameters, passing it to base class, which will be our DB context. Okay, so our server has started. We have two APIs. One is login, one is registration. We okay, enhance and okay. Enhance we don't want. Hash password. Okay, so we have done some mistake here. So instead of request password, which will be our normal password, and then hash password on user, which we will get here, it will contain a hash password, and from request we are getting a plain text password. First we have to pass plain text and then hash password. Let us add user controller, which will have get user API, which we can use to get all the register user data, and we can check our authorization token there. Let us add one more controller to let's test it. What we have in users. so we have nothing. Can try does the string by default everything. We should okay. So let me once again register the user. Okay, so user has registered. So let's check if we get code token. Yes. So we got our token. Now how we can test it? So we will first secure our user controller. So this should be accessed by only authorized user. So for that we have to add one attribute, authorize, and for this it should not require any so for this controller it will not check any tokens. Anyone can access this two API, but for this API only authorized user can access the data. And for we are using this Swagger UI, so here we can add as one property. We have to add it here in services. So this is what I was talking. We will get the pop-up. So we can directly add JWT token here. First we have to register user. User is registered. So now we will try to access this user API without our token. So let's see what response we get. So see, we are getting 401, which means we are unauthorized to get data here. So for that we have to first get our token. We got our token. Let's copy it and add it to bearer. Close. Now let's check whether we get it. So see, we got our response because this time it has sent header as authorization header, bearer and our token. So this is how you can build APIs, authorization API, and use JWT token for authorization in .NET.